Oops. Turbo and 2K show.
What's up, 2K crew? It is us. We are back again, better than ever, rested. 2K's is back from his vacay, and then we've also had a schedule switch, as you guys can probably tell, because this is not Thursday.
Yeah.
This is Sunday, and we're going to go back to our old Sunday schedule because 2K's has a regular, normal person schedule.
It's about time. I spent one whole year working every Sunday, and I'm not going to miss it. I'm not going to miss having to go to work on Sundays.
But that means that there's no... Would you go golfing on Fridays in the summer?
Well, yeah, so with the schedule that I did have, I had Thursday, Friday, Saturday off, which I come to find out was just a terrible schedule for Mr. 2K's because I didn't do shit for those two. Like Thursday and Friday, I didn't do anything. I laid around and put on 20, 25 pounds in this past year. So getting back to this normal schedule, and it takes away from me being able to just lay around because the kids are at school.
Right.
And for a lot of those days, Chel's teaching. So I have the whole house to myself. I can get a lot of things done. No, I would sleep until noon. I would get up. I would eat something. I would watch TV. And I would be back asleep by 2, 3 o'clock. It was a terrible combination for me. I cannot be on a schedule like that. I have to be on a normal routine, the same schedule that I did for the last 10 years, and now I'm finally back onto that, and I got about 20 pounds I need to shed off, get back into my normal shape.
Well, I remember you and I talking, and like one of your biggest satisfactions in life was eating an entire frozen pizza by yourself. So
you got to do plenty of that. I got to do plenty of that. Yeah,
plenty of
too much of that. I did a little bit too much of that here in the last year. So I've been doing this now for the last 2 weeks, so I'm finally getting back into the swing of things, and it's what works for our family, and it's definitely better for me personally too. So
well, it's good to have you back. It's good to be back. 2K crew, we love each and every one of you, and for those of you, which I do want to give a big shout out to the 2K crew and everyone that watched the last episode. We had over 138 people watch during the show. So big thank you. Big thank you for that. Even though the YouTube analytics only say 16, but I have a screenshot that says like 138. So big shout out to you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And for those of you watching on Facebook, both YouTube, Facebook, go ahead and drop a comment. We'll feature you on the show. Let's get a conversation going. And for those of you on the audio side, much love to you guys and gals over there. We will be going back to the Tuesday release dates rather than the Fridays. So I do apologize for the confusion, but we will get back on track, back on schedule, and it will be life as normal. And for those of you on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, ring the bell so you get notified every time we go live. And if you guys and gals are feeling extra saucy, go to buyturboabeer.com. You'll buy 2Ks and I a beer, and we will forever love you, and we will mention you on the show. And lastly, 2Ks, a big shout out to Kay and the crew over here at the Marcellus News for hosting us here in the 643 studio. And go to marcellusnews.com and get your virtual or print subscription. 2K crew or 2Ks, we got baseball to talk about, brother.
Yeah.
Baseball's in full swing. Baseball is in full swing, and I've kind of reserved my comments until you got back, because I figured it'd be a better conversation with the both of us instead of just me ranting and giving my thoughts. But biggest standout so far, I mean, probably the biggest conversation point when it comes to the baseball season is the new rules. And now we're a month in. What are your thoughts?
I have to be honest. I sat here and bashed it a lot, and mostly talking about the pitch clock and how everything was going, especially in spring training where it seemed like that was just the biggest deal, and teams were still trying to get used to it, and they were calling it a lot, and I don't think they were giving enough time. But I think they got it perfect right now, and I have to be honest with you, I like it. Yeah, I like the way that it's moving games along. There's not so much downtime in between pitches. I like how that's moving. I really don't give a shit if the game is 3 hours, if it's 3.5 hours, if it's 2.5 hours. I don't give a shit. But not watching batters walk all over the batter's box and not watching these pitchers walk around the mound in between pitches, especially when it gets to the late innings of the games where relief pitchers, it seems
Yeah.
like just fucking take forever.
Just throw the ball.
Yeah, I have to admit I enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm the one thing that I will have to give the MLB props for, and as well as MLB Network, ESPN, whoever is hosting said baseball game, is not have the pitch clock so obnoxious on the screen that it just distracts you from it. And I'm almost to the point now. It's like, okay, seems like this guy's been set for a while. What the hell's going on? And there's still some, like the timeouts and stuff, I'm still getting used to.
Yeah.
But I enjoy the fact that we're getting back to more small ball baseball instead of just let's see how far we can hit it. It's not a big secret that I'm one of the rare people that really enjoy a good pitcher's duel, which we still see. I mean, we saw one in Detroit today. But the size of the bases, I really don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I really didn't know why that was a big talking point to begin with, but here we are. And the ban of the shift, I think, is in my eyes probably. I think it's more impactful than the pitch clock.
Oh, I agree. I totally agree. Yeah, I think we're seeing it with the numbers. You know, just after this first month, we're seeing higher batting averages that we weren't seeing so much of last year. We're seeing more of the small ball approach, not so much
Stolen
just
bases.
trying to hit it over the wall. Stolen bases. I think the size of the bases plays a little bit of a factor in that. And the other rule change where you only get one pickoff. I mean, that completely opens it up. If you obviously you're going to throw the ball over there less, and if you throw it over there one time, now it's game on for that.
Freddie
base runner.
Freeman
So,
stealing bags.
yes, yeah. So so that part of it I do like. I anytime you see the more small ball approach, manufacturing runs, seeing guys steal bases, that's obviously more exciting. We want to see. Yeah, I think the best thing that everybody wants to see is home runs, but from what we've seen here in recent years, the pitching is becoming so good that we're not the numbers of home runs we're not seeing across the board as much. So yeah, I think they needed to go with this approach to try to bring the small ball approach back and kind of bring that excitement that way. So no, I've actually been pleasantly surprised with how things have went this first month. It's been pretty enjoyable to watch, really.
Now there is a new rule that they're toying with 2Ks, and I kind of brought this up to you last minute here, but I wanted to kind of get you prepped a little bit. But our buddy Jared Carrabis quote tweeted a tweet from Talkin' Baseball. It says MLB is also experimenting with a double hook DH rule in the Atlantic League, where a team loses its DH if the starting pitcher fails to complete at least 5 innings. Mr. Carrabis says, MLB is drunk off the high from the pitch clock, shift ban, and bigger bases approval rating, so now they're just making up rules to fix shit that simply is not broken. This idea is horrible. And I pretty much knew what your reaction, what it was going to be before I even finished reading that. I think it's awful. It's awful.
Yeah.
But I think the one thing that if you're David Ortiz, you, for one, probably really wanted to see this banning of the shift long ago. Poppy probably would have been really close to a 300 hitter if this was a rule back then. But yeah, I as much as I consider you and I pretty much purists. We don't fuck with something that's not broken. Yeah. And we were I don't know how many new fans they've gotten because the games are 25 minutes shorter. In my opinion, 25 minutes really isn't that big of a deal. And especially when I'm at the ballpark, I want to enjoy it.
Sure, absolutely.
I want to enjoy it.
Yeah, make a day out of it, absolutely. And that's look. I think that they've got it right as far as this pitch clock, and I can't really say a bad thing so far about the bigger bases and. The pickoff thing, I'm still kind of on. Yeah. I think one time I think maybe needs to be a little bit more than that. So I don't know if I'm necessarily ready to sit here and say I agree with that. But now you've got a couple things right. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yes.
We don't keep the fucking Savannah Banana rules alone. We don't need those happening over here. Let's not change too much of the game that we love, so much. So
I agree.
That's what I don't want this to turn into something where we're fucking testing and running out new rules every single year. Like the pitch clock thing needed to be approached. It was a problem. They did that. Now let's settle in and just leave it alone.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I've been promising the 2K crew 2Ks that we would broach that subject because this is our favorite sport. When you make rules to something that we're this enamored with, of course we're going to have a reaction. Well, I promised the 2K crew that we give our complete and utter overreactions to month 1 of the MLB season. So let's talk some American League first. Both of our favorite teams are in the American League, so I figured we'd jump off on that. So let's start off with our favorite teams. The Tigers are sitting at 7-13, and I did pull a couple tweets about your Tigers here. Let's start with this one. I believe this was on Tuesday. Again, Jared Carabas, our boy, says, "Congrats, Kerry Carpenter, on the Tigers and their 3rd straight walk-off win, but it's looking worse than COVID capacity in Detroit these days. Geez." He's kind of right, but on the other hand, can you blame people?
Fuck no. I mean, that's my thing on it is like, and I heard when this came out when Carabas was talking about it, and he said that he took a lot of heat from Detroit fans, and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
What has Detroit done to deserve to fill up this ballpark? I mean, we have 25 guys that we've never even fucking heard of.
And Miguel Cabrera.
And Miguel Cabrera, yeah, exactly. So, and a fucking Javi Baez that he's been a fucking quarter of himself since he signed that contract with Detroit. It's been just a complete fucking failure. And now you have all these basically Toledo mud hens that are mixed into this equation. Some of them, maybe someday Torkelson, Riley Green, those guys will be good. I don't know right now. As of right now, to me, they look like average baseball players. Mm-hmm. No, I see absolutely nothing to be excited about.
Well, to your point, Jake Rogers leads the team with a batting average of .258.
Yeah.
And let's filter this. Matten is tied with Carpenter for the team leading 3 home runs. Let's see here. Torkelson has 2. Javi Baez has none.
No.
I find that kind of shocking.
And if we would have been recording, probably not last weekend, but the weekend before, where I think Detroit had lost like 5 or 6 in a row. Mm-hmm. And then we have the Javi Baez. He pimps his double. He thinks it's a home run, even though he has no home runs and he's batting under $150. And he decides that he thinks it's okay to pimp a double, and which could have led to probably should have been a triple.
Yeah.
And then the next batter is Torkelson, who flies out to center field, and that would have been, obviously enough for him to just tag up and score. But he's on second, and he doesn't even know how many fucking outs there are.
Yeah.
And here we are with AJ Hinch having to pull your highest paid player, the guy that you brought in to be the guy. I mean, we can't put it any other way. Al Avila signed Javi Baez to come in and be the guy on this team.
Yeah, to be some.
You don't sign that kind of a contract
much-needed power
and bring that in unless you want him to be the guy. And it has been a complete fucking dumpster fire. He has been mediocre defensively. I won't even say he's been mediocre. He's been shitty. Mm-hmm. This was supposed to be a defensive one of the best defensive shortstops in the game. It hasn't been that.
No.
Supposed to be a 30-plus home run guy. Hasn't even been close to that.
Has he had 30 home runs?
The only thing that the only thing that he's fucking done that we knew that he was going to do before he came to Detroit was strike out. Yeah. We knew he was going to strike out a lot, but we thought, he'll hit a lot of home runs. He'll bring a lot of flair. He'll be very good defensively with all these young pitchers coming up. And the only thing he's done is that he's held up to is the fucking strikeout numbers.
It's true.
So
that is very true. I think that I wouldn't say all is lost in Detroit. I mean,
Fuck, man.
let's.
What's not lost? I mean, I have tried and I've tried and I've tried to take the high road with this organization now for the last 10 years, and I've tried to just give them the benefit of the doubt and feel like they're going in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And maybe they are. Maybe this hire of Scott Harris and it is going to be the right direction. And we haven't even given it close to enough time. This guy just came in this past offseason. So I have nothing negative to say about him, but I don't see one thing as far as players that make me feel like we're even fucking. I don't think we're any closer than what we were 10 years ago when we first started this whole rebuild. Actually, I think we're further away now.
I would agree.
Than what we were then.
I would agree.
That's how pitiful Al Avila was. That's how pitiful this entire organization was from the top, from the as far as just the scouting, the talent that they've brought in, the trades that they've made, the free agents that they've signed. I really have to think long and hard to see if I can find anything where they've actually made the right decision on.
And to kind of counteract your point here, 2Ks, I did pull these off here. I think you guys are seeing the Eduardo Rodriguez that you guys planned on seeing last year. This is from Tigers PR on Twitter. Per Elias Sports, at Eduardo Rod 5 is the first pitcher in Tigers history to have consecutive starts of at least 7 innings, no walks, and 6 or more strikeouts. The last MLB pitcher to do so was Jacob deGrom from June 29 to July 5th, 2019. To kind of go a little bit further in that, Motor City Metrics tweets, Eduardo Rodriguez in his last 2 starts, 15 innings pitched, 0 earned runs, 5 hits, no walks, 16 strikeouts. So, I mean, that's I'm not saying that's going to turn the season around, but at least you're getting the guy that you hoped you were getting, even after last year was a failure for him. I mean, both probably, on the field, off the field, the whole 9 yards. So it's good to see him back. When he was with the Red Sox, he was fantastic. And I think you guys, Tigers fans are now starting to see what we saw in Boston. But the Tigers are probably in the worst division. The worst division. The Twins are leading the division 12-10. And am I the only one that saw the game the other day and they have a new M on their hat? I thought it was the Marlins. It was the weirdest thing. It didn't look like the normal Twins logo, like the TC.
Yeah, I didn't notice that their uniforms were. I haven't watched a Twins game all season long. I mean, who watches the fucking Twins?
It was on MLB Network.
I did notice like a highlight of something where their uniforms did look different, but yeah, when it comes to Twins baseball, unless they're playing against the Tigers, I really don't ever.
I have a feeling our buddy Jason is watching. He says, wasn't Eduardo a Red Sox turbo? Or maybe that's Justin. He says, haha, jinx. Yep, he was. And he was very good for Boston. Very good. And like I said, I think you guys are seeing the fruits of of the guy that you paid to bring over. But yeah, that just kind of at first glimpse. See, the Twins have 12 wins.
They got off to a really good start. Now they've kind of flatlined a little bit. Haven't been playing near as well.
I guess and shockingly enough, 2Ks. I know I kind of split it into American and National, but let's take a side by side here. Twins are at 12-10. Guardians are 500, 11-11. Detroit 7-13. The White Sox 7-15, which is. Well, the White Sox should be a lot better than that. Let's just leave it at that. Royals are 5-17. Now I'm gonna read off the win-loss records of this other division. And I'm gonna see if you can guess. You have a 33% chance. I already told you it's in the National League. There's two teams tied at 12-11. One at 12-12. Excuse me. 7-13, 6-17. Which National League division is that?
I think it's the West, isn't it?
Sure is.
Yeah.
With the Diamondbacks leading the West. For those of you that don't know, That the Diamondbacks are 12-11, tied with the Dodgers. The Padres are 12-12. The Giants, which are terrible, are 7-13, and the Rockies, which, speaking of the Rockies, I just found out the other day that Chris Bryant's still in the league.
Yeah, and Chris Bryant hit a home run in Coors.
Yeah,
At Coors for the first time. This, and it's been there for 2 years now. Maybe the easiest ballpark in all of baseball to hit a home run at.
yeah.
That's crazy to think about, like, just the fall off of not only Javi Baez, but the fall off of Chris Bryant.
Yeah.
From that 2016 Cubs World Series team, like, two of the biggest guys in all of baseball, and now, I mean, I definitely would take Chris Bryant over Javi, because Chris Bryant still is a pretty decent player. The power numbers are completely gone. Some injuries have played a factor there, but
They had him
like,
playing right field and center field.
yeah, but it's just like, what has happened? What I never would have thought. I mean, I honestly, to be perfectly honest with you, when Chris Bryant first came up and kind of took off with the Cubs, and I think a lot of people thought this is probably a future Hall of Famer. Very good chance this is a future Hall of Famer we're watching. He's done this at every level, and now he's going and taking off in the major leagues, and it's like, yeah, I don't see any signs of this guy slowing down. Boy, were we wrong.
Yeah. I mean, when he was with the Cubs, I mean, he was the guy.
Fuck.
I mean, even though Rizzo had been there the longest, I mean, he just kind of captivated the entire town of Chicago. Excuse me, or at least the South Side anyway. And they built that team around Rizzo and Bryant. Now, I mean, hell, like I said, I didn't even realize he was still in the league.
To me, that's the kind of player I thought Bryant was always going to be. Like, we're going to build around this guy. Now, Javi Baez, I think where Detroit fucked up was thinking that he can be the guy.
Yeah.
Javi Baez is the fourth, fifth, maybe third option on a World Series caliber team. He's not your first. He's not he cannot be your best player, your best option. And so that's why he fit in with that Cubs team so well. Was he brought the flair, he brought the good defense, he brought the power hitting,
And he could get hot.
and he could bat fifth, sixth, seventh in that lineup. It wasn't like they were asking him to go up there and make good contact and not, he was going up in that lineup, just basically swing out of his shoes and big hits. That was what they needed out of him. Fuck, at that time he wasn't even asked to be playing shortstop.
No.
He was their second baseman for majority of that time. So I wouldn't even I'd go out on a limb and say that there for a little bit there, Addison Russell was the bigger name.
Yeah, until he smacked his wife, which we're not going to get into. But the aforementioned commenter 2Ks is my buddy Justin Ross. Met him in playing darts. But he says a fearless projection. Chris Bryant hits 42 home runs with the Rockies. Must be in the air. Maybe combined this year and last year. I did look it up. He does have 3.
Mm-hmm.
So
He's got
he's hitting 288. I mean, it's not like he's horrible, but maybe it's just because he was so, Chicago's so close to here that we.
I think a little bit of it too was he was playing games that mattered, and where now he's playing games that nobody gives a fuck about baseball in Colorado, and I don't think anybody ever will.
No.
We watched that. We watched a majority of a career of Troy Tulowitzki, one of the best shortstops of our time, and I think a lot of people just forget who the fuck he even was.
Yeah.
Why? Because he played majority of his time in Colorado. Mm-hmm. Then he went to Toronto. It wasn't like Toronto was being highly talked about, and then ended it all with the Yankees. But that was after how many injuries, and he wasn't.
Yeah, his career definitely was definitely shortened for sure. Let's switch gears to my Red Sox. Let's get that out of the way. Sitting at 12-11, which if they were in the Central would be either first or second. they would be second, but they're sitting at the bottom. Let's get some stats here. I mean, all in all, this could be a whole lot worse. Devers is leading the team with 8 home runs. One of the big question marks was going to be Alex Verdugo. This is his a lot of people in Boston were saying, this is his put up or shut up year. And I think so far he's holding up his end of the bargain. He's hitting 332, 3 home runs, 11 RBIs, playing amazing defense. I mean, I was catching so much hell on Red Sox Twitter that just because I like this kid. I really do. Is he anywhere near Mookie Betts? No. Mookie's a top 5 player, has been since he pretty much stepped onto the field. And just to compare Verdugo to Betts is kind of unfair, even though they always will be because they were in that same trade. But the thing that kills me the most with this team is injuries, dude. Injuries.
Well, the start of the season for Adam Duvall.
Yeah.
I mean,
carrying the team.
Yeah, I mean, with the exception of Devers, those two were they both got up to a tear at the very beginning.
Yes.
Him probably a little bit more though.
Oh yeah,
and
hands down.
Batting well over 400, had 4 home runs, and then the injury hits, and he was off to. I think if he's healthy and not out for this past 7-8 games, he's probably missed in a row now. Mm-hmm. I think we're probably looking at a whole different record.
Yeah, when he went down, he was hitting .455. Granted, this is only 33 at bats. I understand. In direct comparison, Verdugo has 90.
Yeah.
So, but .455, 4 home runs, 14 RBIs, 5 stolen bases, which is crazy to think. Now, getting back to our stolen base thing here, those are strikeouts. Sorry, he had 0 stolen base. He had 5 strikeouts. Because I was going to say there's no way Justin Turner has 12 stolen bases. But that's a big signing that is paying off. I mean, he's putting up his normal numbers. He's 286.
He's just a ball player, always has been.
Yeah.
I mean,
and his demeanor, just his appearance, everything fits right in with Boston. And like I said, he's been a very, very good addition to that team. And all of this, like we already talked about, without Duvall here lately, and without Trevor Story, and it seemed from what I've heard, both should probably be coming back around the same time. So probably after the All-Star break is what I'm hearing for both of them. So if this team can stay afloat for that long, I think we're in for some good things here. But excuse me. And the pitching's been up and down. Excuse me. It was good to see Chris Sale being Chris Sale again, which I think a lot of Red Sox fans were hoping, because either that or Sale Day was going to be really, really pointless with that whole thing. But Tanner Houck, lights out. Lights out. He's 3-0. The downside of that is Corey Kluber has looked like absolute garbage. He is definitely not the Corey Kluber that we remember, especially going back to the Indians and wherever else he's been. But it's been kind of a rocky start. Kenley Jansen has been a good addition. That was another free agent signing that they've had. Yeah, he's got 5 saves, and no blown saves. He's got a win. So that, as far as that, like I said, they're in a very, very tough division, which makes it even harder. And speaking of that division, 2Ks, we can't talk about this division without talking about the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah.
This team.
Well, they win 13. Was it 12?
I think it was 14.
14?
They were going for 15, and they finally lost. This team's on a tear. They're 19-3. 19-3. And I think they just today tied they're 13-0 at home. Which I think tied a record today for the most games won to start a season. And another thing, 2Ks, is they are plus 88 run differential. Plus 88. That's just insane.
In a month of baseball.
Yeah, and granted, to start out the season, you could make the argument that they weren't playing very good teams. But there's 21 or 22 games
The
now.
thing is, You're 19-3, and you're playing against Major League Baseball teams. So I don't even care who you're playing against.
Yeah.
That shit's impressive, regardless of the schedule.
And they're followed by the Orioles 2Ks. Baltimore's legit.
Yeah.
Baltimore's legit.
So young.
I mean,
this is a team that's super young,
Yes.
and they're not going anywhere for a while. And
No.
I think they're just going to continue to keep on getting better and better. This is a team that I think could potentially be the powerhouse of the East here real soon.
yeah, and their younger guys just keep getting better. Mountcastle's having a hell of a season. Adley Rushman, we're already hearing.
He's probably the best catcher in the game right now.
Dude has like 2 games this season already. He's went 5 for 5.
Yeah.
There's MVP
as far
chance
as
already.
all-around catcher in the game right now, because his defense is already there, and his hitting is way beyond any rookie catcher that we see.
Yeah.
He potentially is the best catcher in the game where we are at right now.
Mr. Cody Brazeman wants to chime in.
Who does he want to talk about? Some fucking team in New York?
How'd you guess? It says baseball. The goddamn Knicks are actually winning in the playoffs. Fuck early baseball. Now, Cody, 2Ks can't see what I put up here, so it's like he knows you, dude. It's like he knows you. But no, Cody, you should know we really don't talk basketball that much. But
And we especially don't talk about anything fucking New York Knicks or New York Jets, unless maybe Rodgers, maybe they're able to finish that trade off.
I tell you what, if Rodgers does end up as a Jet, I guarantee Cody's going to finish all over a lot of things.
It's where we're at right now. It seems like, not to just completely go off of what we were already talking about, but fuck it, we'll do it anyways. I think it's just a matter of time, and it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But if there is a franchise that could fuck this up,
well, it's the Jets. It's the Jets for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I would not. Wouldn't that just be something like this whole offseason, and then come week 1, Zach Wilson's fucking suiting up out there,
banging moms and throwing picks. That would be awesome. But no, that I tell you what, you get A-Rod behind that. That's gonna be a scary team.
Mm-hmm.
Once Breece Hall gets back, I mean they've signed a couple other receivers. It's gonna. Cody says no doubt it's them. Well, no shit, Sherlock. But you watch, the 49ers are going to come in and somehow steal them from you.
That'd be funny.
Yeah, we'll see Mike Greenberg, Gary V, and Cody just wilt away as a human being. But no, let's get back to the AL East here. Toronto, 13-9. Bo Bichette's off to an amazing start. Power numbers, Vladdy he's done what he's done in New York, and I absolutely love the way he handles himself in New York. He's like, you know what? I would rather die than sign with the Yankees. And then he just hits bomb after bomb after bomb in the Bronx. I love it. I love it. I love it. And the aforementioned Yankees are 13-9. Now to put this in perspective, 2Ks, and for the whole 2K crew, I said that the Rays are plus 88 run differential. The Yankees are plus 21.
Mm-hmm.
Which the only other team that is even close to the Rays is the Rangers.
That's the team I've been really waiting to have the opportunity to talk about.
Well, let's jump into the West. We've already done the Central. I mean, we've already said everyone in the Central is pretty much garbage. So yeah, let's jump into some meaningful teams here, aside from the Oakland Athletics, which I do want to put this tweet up here. This is from Joe Pompliano. Oakland is on pace to be one of the worst teams in MLB history, and now people are actively rooting for their demise. This is a mess, and they have no one to blame but themselves. Speaking of this is from today. Speaking of the aforementioned Rangers, they beat up on the A's 18-3, 2Ks, 18-3. That is, I mean, that's a bloodbath. That's a bloodbath. And to see teams like, I mean, the Rangers are 14-7. like I said, with a run differential of plus 60. And I think you and I kind of all, and probably not just us, when Corey Seager signed there, we're like, the Rangers? Really? The
Yeah.
Rangers?
Yeah.
And of course, DeGrom now, and DeGrom's healthy, hopefully.
You know, they went into that. So last season is the season of the shortstop. You know, if you want to improve at position shortstop in the offseason, last year was the year to do it. The Rangers couldn't decide on which one they wanted, so they just fucking grabbed both. They grabbed two of the four
They
main
got
ones
Simeon
that we're
too,
talking
right?
about. Yeah. And just so happened that they went out and grabbed the two best. They grabbed both of the best options, who at the time were probably option 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted Correa, and Baez probably could say that he probably could have been number 3. But I think it's safe to say Semien was kind of the 4th option there.
Yeah.
And now he's arguably the best out of all of them.
I'm playing second base now.
Corey Seager, dude just hits. I mean, batting well over 300, probably closer to 400 than he is 300 right now. Marcus Semien, same. They're both good defensively. All these young kids they got coming up, they're pitching, young pitching. And then you throw DeGrom in that, and DeGrom's been out for the last couple starts. You know, nursing what they say is not anything real serious.
Yeah.
They're just playing it very. But you know what? When you start off like this and you have this record and you're just blowing teams away, you can afford to give him a little bit extra time and make sure that he's right before he comes back. So outside of you know just the amazing start by Tampa, winning 19 of their first 22 games, this is the next best team that I've seen play so far, and
Probably one of the more shocking ones.
Yeah.
I mean, just scrolling down here, Seager's batting 359. Simeon's at 298. And
Adolis Garcia,
Yep.
I think he's probably in the
250.
and probably in the top 3 or 4 in RBIs.
Yeah, 7 home runs. Robbie Grossman.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, he's only hitting 208, but every time I look up, it seems like there's our Grossman home run. It's like, okay, but
Well, that's what you do. You leave Detroit, and then you just learn how to,
learn how to hit.
learn how to hit. And all of a sudden, guys just fucking come out of nowhere when they get out of Detroit. And it happens, and so it's just like, what is Detroit doing wrong? And with all these young hitters.
But if you're not, and I consider myself an avid baseball fan, and I don't really know a lot of these guys on the roster, to be honest with you. So to say that this team's off to a great start, and if you are a Rangers fan, then yes, you probably did see this coming. But if you're like the rest of us who aren't Rangers fans, and from 3 hours ago, DeGrom fans 11 and 6 innings, Rangers beat A's 5-2.
Now, the only thing that worries me a little bit, and I know I just said, when you win 19 and 22 games, it doesn't really matter who you play against. You're doing it against, good. You're doing it against Major League Baseball teams. Now, the one thing I will say is this Texas team has benefited off of sweeping Kansas City. They've benefited off of sweeping the Oakland A's. They've benefited off of sweeping Kansas City a second time. They got to play. They've already been able to play them that amount of times. And then when they play against teams like the Orioles win that. They played against the Stros won that series. So this is a team that has benefited off of really, really bad teams early in the season. We'll see how this holds up as we go a little bit further. But still, not to take anything. I don't want to sit here and sound like I'm taking things away from them. But I think when you look at the teams that they've just kind of have blown out here, when you actually look at who they're playing, the teams that they've done that to, it makes a little bit more sense. Kind of paints the bigger picture there. But no, this team can flat out hit, and there's another team. They remind me a lot of the O's. They're very young, and they're just going to continue to get even better.
Yeah, and they've got guys in the farm system that we haven't seen yet up in the show that I think you'll recognize a lot of their last names, and they are looking very, very promising. So yeah, the future is bright. The Astros are sitting at 12-10, which seems kind of like a little bit slower of a start for the Stros, but the injury bug has bitten them. Injury bug has bitten them hard. But what else is hitting hard is Yordan Alvarez. Not a big shocker. Dude is just He picked up right where he left off last year. Leads the team with 6 home runs. Closely following behind is Kyle Tucker. I mean, this kid, he's one of those prospects that we always thought would be awesome, and now I think we're kind of seeing him come into his own. Just to give you some averages here, Dubon leads the team at 329. Tucker's at 303. Jordan's at 253. Pena's at 216, starting off at a little slower pace here. But the one name you do not see on this list is Altuve. He got hurt in the World Baseball Classic, didn't he? Mm-hmm. We haven't even seen him yet. So to say that the Stros are out of it this early, I doubt it. But just even bigger reason for the Rangers to get off to this hot start. So when the rest of that team is healthy, then they can they at least have a little bit of a pad going into this. And we can't talk about the West without talking about the Angels. And again, 2 of the biggest names here, Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani. They don't even lead the team in homers, 2Ks.
Been kind of
an ex-Red Sox does.
Yeah.
Who looks like Mike Trout's brother, Hunter Renfroe. Leads the team at 6 home runs. Trout and Ohtani are doing okay. They've got 5. And it seems like when one hits one, the other one does. I mean, this is like the second or third time this year that when one hits one, the other one does.
Yeah.
So if you are doing a home run parlay, it's not a bad idea to throw those 2 guys together, because it seems like when one does, the other one does. But I think you and I can agree that the fate of this team relies in their pitching, not necessarily on their hitting. Aside from Ohtani, I can't even name another one of their pitchers. So that's going to be the linchpin there. Now, it's aside from having Trout and Ohtani on the same team, I think this Angels team is going to get a lot more eyeballs, even though if that's even possible. But this is Ohtani's last year under contract with the Angels. Do the Angels do something mid-season, trade deadline to help bolster that team, to kind of be like, hey, we want to build around you and Mike? Or do you think there's any way that a team could have a $400 million player and a $600 million player on the same field? Because that's kind of where the Shohei Ohtani prize pool, I guess you could call it, is rumored to be gathering, is around $600 million.
Yeah.
Could one owner have $1 billion in 2 players?
No.
I don't think so either. I mean,
and I don't think it's the best thing for that team. Like I don't. I mean, if it was, then these 2 have been together now for 3 years, 4 years. So
I think this is number 4.
Yeah. So if that was the best thing to have them together, it's obviously not showing in results of wins and losses. So
right.
That's the thing. That's the thing with this game is, obviously you want to. It's nice to have 2 of the best players in all of baseball, but you got to be able to form an entire team. You have to have pitching staff. You have to be. So to me, the Angels need to put more money into pitching help than what they do into Ohtani. Not to, Ohtani's a pitcher too.
Yeah.
But it's going to take. They need more than just one pitcher.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I don't see that happening. I feel like Ohtani probably ends up in one of these huge markets. The Dodgers, they're going to be a team that's going to spend. The Yankees. I can't imagine that the Mets have any more money to do anything either.
No.
With just the 2 contracts with Verlander and Scherzer alone. So I don't see that being a possibility. But yeah, to me it's the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers are going to be the team that at the end of the day ends up with them. Or it's going to be some sneaky team just out of nowhere that has money, and they're just going to come out of nowhere and do it, and that's a possibility too.
Then, like I said, we've already talked about the A's. They're minus 103 in run differential, 2Ks.
Yeah.
Through 22 games. And the Mariners, do not sleep on the Mariners 2K crew. This team is young. I have a feeling that just tasting the postseason last year is going to get them back in it again. But that's a tough division now, especially with the Rangers being as good as they are. So.
And just as bad as good as they were last year, and like you said, they had a taste of the postseason. It was basically with Jared Kalenic was not even a part of that at all.
No,
Well, now all of a sudden, he's maybe the best player on that team.
Yep.
I know everybody wants to ride high on Julio, and why the hell wouldn't you not? But let's not forget, before Julio, Jared Kelenic was supposed to be the next big thing too. He had one bad season, and everybody wanted to write him off. Well, where we're at right now, I think he's the better ball player at this moment right now.
Yes, especially at the plate. Let's jump over to the National League 2Ks. AL East, or NL East, pardon me. Braves and Mets are tied 14 and 8. Both with similar run differentials, plus 20, plus 24. Braves right now would be well beyond that 14 and 8 if their bullpen could match even close to what the starters are. However, closer's hurt, so from what I heard, he's coming back on Tuesday or Wednesday, so that'd be a welcome addition. The Marlins are playing spectacular baseball at 12 and 10. Phillies are how they're 11 and 12.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. The Nationals are terrible. Pretty much every baseball pundit was saying that the Phillies desperately need Bryce Harper back. They need more than Bryce Harper. Luckily, they're only 3.5 games back of the Mets somehow.
And with the injury in spring training to Rhys Hoskins, when that one hits hard too, it's another middle of the lineup bat that goes out.
Yeah.
I think that it's looking like Bryce Harper's going to be playing first base when he comes back. That's what they're working at. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Obviously, you take a bat like that of that caliber and put that back in the lineup. It's going to make you better right away.
Leadership wise, clubhouse wise, and everything.
But like you said, to me, this division is Mets and Braves, and I think that those two teams will take it down to the wire. It's going to be really close, but I think as the season goes on, they're just going to keep working their way away from everybody else.
In the Central, the Pittsburgh Pirates 2Ks sitting atop this division at 16 and 7 with a run differential of plus 25. And I do have a little tweet here for the Pirates. The Pittsburgh Pirates have won 7 straight games, are 16 and 7. Starting pitchers have a 2.15 ERA over the last 13 games, best in baseball. I don't think I'm pretty sure those words would never come out of my mouth. The Pittsburgh Pirates are leading the NL Central over the Brewers, who are just a half game back at 15 and 7. Kind of another. Didn't really. I guess we're always used to seeing the Cardinals be at the top of this. The Cubs, I think, are just as advertised, like we were saying in leading up to the season. Their run differentials plus 39, which is best in that division. And Dansby Swanson has been doing Dansby Swanson things with that team. So if you are a Cubs fan, I mean, you're 3 games back right now. And who would have ever thought out of that 2016 World Series team that Ian Happ would be the only member of that team left in 2023? Kind of a shocker there.
Yeah. It is kind of crazy how all that worked out and how short-lived that was. And I had a chance to listen to that podcast where Joe Madden talked a little bit about how he thought that he came out on the wrong end of that, and that they kind of cut ties with that whole squad too soon. And I don't know if I totally agree with that. Maybe a little bit of it. I think it does shock me how things have worked out where some of those big names are gone. I think it was kind of a matter of time where Rizzo was going to leave, just because you had Chris Bryant, who was younger at the time. You had to think that your money was going to go there. Javi Baez, another, I think just the fan base, the love for Baez, and just the flash and everything that he had going with him at the time. I could see where you kind of overlooked that Rizzo, even though Rizzo was the guy, and Rizzo was the guy that went through the bad years. He was the only guy that, he was the true captain of that team. But this is a business, and just because you did that, they don't owe that to you. But I think that all kind of just how that fell apart and how that fell apart so fast after they were so young, and I just thought I think everybody kind of thought this is a team that's not going to go anywhere. No. I say that a lot. I say that about this O's team, and I say this about that Mariners team in Texas. Like, these teams aren't going away. Well, I don't know. I think a lot of people said that about the Cubs too, and all of a sudden, when you have to start paying these guys and their contracts all come up at the same time, everybody's got to go get their money. And I think the days of these major teams staying together for a long time, I don't think we're going to see that anymore because of some of these contracts that we've seen in the recent.
Except for the Braves.
Yeah, but they were smart about it because they were able to lock up like an Acuna before he even really took off. So they locked him in, and it's a smart thing to do, and I can't believe that we don't see more teams do it. Now it's a huge risk that you take on it because there is a lot of guaranteed money that's thrown out there. But
now the O's have done it with Rutschman.
Yeah.
So we are seeing it, and it's to be honest, it's a smart thing to do.
Yeah, I mean we kind of didn't we kind of see that with didn't San Diego do that with Tatis a little bit too? Where I mean the deal is still huge.
Yeah.
But I think they jumped on
a ton of arbitration
years, by not allowing him to even come close to hitting that free agent year. So we're seeing there's a lot of teams that are doing it. It makes sense. I don't know why more teams don't do it. But yeah, that's got to be, that one's got to sting a little bit for Cubs fans. Like, I think they were under the impression like this. We're not just going to get one.
Yeah.
And look,
rightfully
you get one, and you should be. I mean, if the Tigers won one, I'd be happy for the rest of my life. But when you have that talent that they had, you have. Yeah. I mean, if I'm the favorite, if that's my favorite team, I'm thinking, man, we might be able to do this 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
In this 7-8 year stretch. That one's got to sting a little bit, just knowing that out of all those guys, Ian Happ is the only one still there. That's crazy to me.
Let's finish up with the West, and we kind of already talked about the records and everything. But who'd have thought the Diamondbacks would be tied with the Dodgers, sitting atop this division, and kind of the division, like there's, which has been the case the last few years, aside from that one year that the Giants went on that run. And we've seen kind of that team just bits and pieces of it go here and there. And I was watching it's 4-4, Mets and Giants. And when they're talking about, watch Pete Alonso and Francisco Lindor face off against Mike Yastrzemski and Jock Peterson, something's wrong about that. And I'm not taking anything away from Jock and Yaz, but there seems to be a different level of stardom with that New York team as compared to this Giants team. But, I mean, hell, when they made that run a couple years ago, it was the same way. I mean, was it Carlos Rodon was the best guy there? And, he's with the Yankees now. It's probably his second or third team since he left there. But, yeah, there's 3 teams, and the Padres just got Tatis back. Still curious as to where they're going to play all 4 of the shortstops at once, but that's neither here nor there. But I guess if you have a whole team full of shortstops, I mean, shortstop's supposed to be your most athletic dude on the field. So if you're going to go all, it's better to have 4 shortstops and 4 first basemen, I guess.
Absolutely.
Probably the only other position you'd want extras like that, maybe catcher. I don't know, but still, there's only one catcher can play at a time. So I guess if you're going to load up on a position, shortstop would be it. But I still think it comes down to pitching with that team. If you look at the Dodgers have way better starting pitching. Even though I do like a couple of those dudes for the Padres, but do you really want to hang your hat with Yu Darvish?
Yeah.
I like Musgrove a lot. I do. He's young. I really like what he brings, but that's a team that needs to, before the trade deadline, go get an arm, because the bats are there. The bats are there. That's a team that to overcome the Dodgers, and I'm not taking anything away from the Snakes yet, but it is the first month, and we'll see how that pans out. But it's going to be that again. I mean, that's why the Padres made the trade for Soto and did all this is to compete with the Dodgers.
Did you see Bumgarner's already at it again? Like fucking fighting with Wilson Contreras last week already. It's like that guy is like the orneriest old man. I don't even know what the fuck he was mad about. Like, and look, I'm not a big fan of Wilson Contreras either. He kind of does some shit that pisses me off, and he runs his mouth a little bit too much, and I don't really like that. Plus, he played for the Cubs, so I don't like that either. But I watched that video I don't know how many times just trying to figure out what the fuck he did. That I just think Bumgarner like gets his burr up his ass. It just I don't know if it's because he sucks now, but then he did it when he was good. Like when he was kicking ass, he was still doing like somebody fucking watch their home run. Like, dude, if somebody hits 400 on you, they ought to be able to do whatever the fuck they want to that baseball as it's going out. Like and you just need to take it. You know, so many times you see pitchers strike guys out and they're fucking screaming and yelling and fist pumping all the way. So why can't you do it when somebody hits a fucking home run off you? Just shut the fuck up. And the thing about it now is, I think people. I think back when Bumgarner was doing it and he was really good, it was like, he's the ace, like he's a stud.
Right.
Now, he's not going to end the season on this pitching staff. That's how bad he is.
He's already been cut.
And so now you just laugh. Oh, has he?
Yeah.
So, that's what. So like that does not shock me because, like I said, he was not going to end the season in that pitching staff. He fucking sucks. There's nothing. He does nothing
right
good
after
anymore.
that game.
And he got cut because everybody in the whole organization was like, "This guy's a fucking embarrassment." I can't help but just laugh about it now. When I was watching it, I'm just like, "Really, man? What the fuck are you so mad about? Like, he swung hard,
right? He's trying hard." All right, well, 2Ks. I think that wraps up our baseball analysis here. So let's jump into our top 5. What do you say?
Yeah.
And this week's top 5, ladies and gentlemen, is it was inspired by the MLB network, and they were I can't remember which two dudes were talking, and they were Cliff Floyd was one of them, and I have mixed emotions about Cliff Floyd, but they were talking if you had a World Series Game 7 of an active pitcher right now, who would you start whose last name isn't Ohtani or Cole? So I started thinking to myself, I'm like, is Garrett Cole and Shohei that head and shoulders above all these other pitchers? So 2Ks. Our top 5 list this week is top 5 starting pitchers pitching right now. Pitching right now. 2Ks, if you had Game 7 World Series on the line, your number 5 pitcher to bring you the dub would be who?
I think right now, kind of got off to a little bit of a shaky start, this season, but just kind of I'm going on. He's going to get it figured out, and he already has got it figured out. It should just kind of I think that first outing in the season he was really bad, but then he's been pretty decent since. I got to go Corbin Burns.
Okay.
Just he's done it now for a long time. It's not just like this isn't just 1 year, 2 years. This is a guy that's done it for a while now. A team that I think a lot of people just count out every year. They're not going to, but somehow they pitch their way into. They pitch the ball well enough in a very offensive friendly ballpark, and are able to get to postseason games. Now they can't do a whole lot after that, but if I'm picking my number five guy and win the game today, Corbin Burns is that guy.
All right, who's your number 4?
Number 4. I'm going to go Max Scherzer.
Okay.
Go Max Scherzer. I think he got fucking screwed this past week on that whole.
Speaking of which, I do have a tweet about that. It's from
that whole situation pissed me off, and like that's one thing I will say about Scherzer too is I don't think Scherzer. I maybe I'm biased because he's so many good years that he had in Detroit, and obviously I just love the dude, but he does not come across as somebody that I think is going to lie about shit like that. And then when it was all coming down, he was fucking swearing on his own children that that he wasn't using anything illegal. And then that umpire, what a fucking douche!
He slams his glove.
To
right
come,
back in
well,
his
the
chest.
umpire is just to make a comment afterwards saying that those were the stickiest hands he'd ever felt. Like, you fucking douchebag. And then to find out also that there's only been 3 pitchers ever ejected because of sticky stuff, and this umpire has been the same one, been the one to do it for all 3. Like, all right, I think it's time for a change there. Just when you're the same person to do that, obviously there's a little bit of a chip on your shoulder for that situation. And when you're taking guys like Max Scherzer out for the next 2 starts now,
because he was suspended 10 games. So
you're trying to make yourself bigger than the game, and that's what I have. I have a huge issue with that. So, but just stuff alone, talking about a top 5 pitcher, Max Scherzer is fucking nasty, and he's done this now for a decade.
Yeah.
So, he's could potentially go higher on that list, but I have some other guys that are a little bit younger than him, and then also a former teammate of his that unfortunately go over him. So number 3, if this was, I know there's a lot of postseason failures here with this guy, and it hasn't been good. But if this list was to be, if I was to be making this list 5 years ago, this guy would have been number 1 on the list. And I think it would have been number 1 on about everybody's list. And I think people continue to just write this kid off and think, and so many. When I think about him, I think he's got to be like 40 years old now, but he's actually in his mid 30s. Clayton Kershaw. I mean, he's the outside of Justin Verlander, and I think that argument between those two can just go on and on and on. But oh man, those are the 2 best pitchers that I've ever seen in my lifetime. And I think on some days of the week I could wake up and say Verlander's the best, and on other days of the week I could wake up and say Kershaw's the best. And I don't know if I ever could win that argument with either one of them. Like to me they're just a wash. And then number two, this one sucks because I want to have him at number 1, but I'm going to have him at number 2, Justin Verlander. Again, if this was going back a few years ago, Verlander would be number 1 or 2 on this because of Kershaw.
Well, hell, even last year.
But yeah.
I mean, statistically, he had his best year ever.
Yeah. He's just a workhorse. Been the best pitcher in baseball, or in that conversation as the best pitcher in baseball, basically since he came into the major leagues. That's how good this guy has been. And then number 1. Here, I have to go Garrett Cole. Just, I think it was last year, the whole sticky stuff situation came out, and the numbers went down. It was obvious. It was obvious that he was, cheating in that, but he's got it figured out now. Who knows? I'm sure that they've found some other way of sticking the ball. But his numbers are insane right now. It looks like he's probably going to go on to win a Cy Young if the numbers stay the same this year. He's been the most dominant pitcher I've seen this year, and it's not like he's only done this since he's been a Yankee. He was doing this with Pittsburgh well before all this. We just never talked about him because it was Pittsburgh, and it was just that treatment that he got there where he pitched in a lot of meaningless ball games. But dude's a fucking stud. I don't really necessarily like him, but at the end of the day, you have to just give credit where it's due, and he's a fucking stud.
I agree. I mean, it is hard to...
And, it kills me not to have this guy on the list. And I really thought about having him over Corbin Burns, and I can't believe I don't have him on there. But if you look at the wins and losses, and I know that he hasn't had a whole lot of, run support, but Jacob deGrom is just... His numbers are amazing, and when you watch him pitch, you're like, man, this guy probably has the best stuff of anybody in the game. But... I don't even think he has over 100 wins yet in his career.
Yeah.
He's been in the injuries. The injuries have played on it. So he's just one of those guys like I ride with Corbin Burns on this over him because I can't expect DeGrom to be there for me. And I can expect these other 5 guys that I have that they're going to be there and be able to grab the ball and go pitch. And that's my one knock on DeGrom. look stuff-wise, motherfucker is probably the best of everybody in the game. Mm-hmm. But you can't. He's not very reliable, and that's been kind of the knock on him his entire career.
Yeah, it's hard to argue any of those. But my number 5 is going to be Kershaw, just because, and he's my number 5.
Mm-hmm.
So once you get in the top 5, I mean, to get the difference between 5 to 4, there's a little bit of a gripe. Then 4 to 3, so to kind of make it conversational. I mean, the postseason stuff does kind of scare me.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, he seems to have gotten over that, which is why he made the top 5. So I've got him at 5. I'm gonna go Scherzer 4. So this is where, once you get in the top 3, that's basically the best person, or the best 3 going. And right now, I got to give number 3 to Ohtani. Got to give number 3 to Ohtani. Number 2, I think I got to put JV at number 2. And just going strictly off of last season. Mm-hmm. I mean, dude won a Cy Young after Tommy John. Yeah. And he's damn near 40. Mm-hmm. And seems like last year he just got better, which getting better on Justin Verlander standards is insane. Ridiculous.
Yeah, insane.
Ridiculous. So, was that number 2?
Yep.
Number 1, I got to go DeGrom.
Yeah.
Even though the injuries aside, mm-hmm. he is probably the most complete pitcher.
Oh, for sure.
In the game.
Yeah, I can't argue it. The only one I can argue, sit here and argue with you on is Shohei. Mm-hmm. And it's, look, the dude's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, do I get a little bit annoyed by all the fucking gargling on this guy's dick that everybody does? Yeah, it does annoy me a little bit. Don't get me wrong. It's fucking amazing. What he does at the plate, what he does on the mound, it's amazing. But for them to come out with that list and be like, this is the guy that we want to grab the ball in a postseason game. Motherfucker hasn't even played in a postseason game. That's where I'm like, How do you know? We knock on Clayton Kershaw because he hasn't been able to show up in the postseason. We knocked on Verlander because prior to coming to Houston, he wasn't able to show up in postseason baseball either. Well, at least they pitched in him.
Yeah.
To me, you have a team of Ohtani and Trout on the same team. The 2 best players that Major League Baseball has had in the last fucking 20 years on the same team, and they can't even get into they can't even play meaningful baseball after midsummer.
Yeah.
Haven't been able to do it. So that's where I'm like, let's fucking chill, because maybe in the big situation that Ohtani's never had to play in yet, with exception of the World Baseball Classic, that's been the big situation he's ever played in, which is not the World Series. No. I'm not ready to. I'm not ready to fucking crown the guy like everybody else is.
Well, and that's why he wasn't number 1 or number 2.
Yeah.
I mean, is it very easy he could slide up that? Yes, but
sure.
To your point,
very, very young in his career yet. Let's see where he's at 10 years from now.
And could you imagine him as a Dodger with that lineup? I mean, just everything about it. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's insane. That is absolutely insane. But a couple of honorable mentions, which I think will kind of shock some folks. But my number 1 honorable mention is Jack Flaherty.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because I watched him pitch today, but my dear Lord. Again, someone that needs to stay healthy.
You talk about guys that, are very, very young or just haven't really just kind of taken off right now recently. Like, I watched a little bit of Pittsburgh's game today, and Vinny Velasquez looked like a stud. Mm-hmm. And then some of them Diamondbacks games, watching the Galen kid pitch, like that kid, he's going to be talked about as one of the best pitchers in the game for the next 10 years. I mean, there's guys that are coming that they just haven't pitched long enough.
And neither one of us mentioned the NL Cy Young winner, Alcantara.
Yeah.
So I mean,
no
maybe it's because he's down in Florida.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
and that's what it is. I mean, I never even didn't even ponder his name, which is crazy.
I bet you I've watched him pitch once.
Yeah,
Just because-
All-Star game, and that's about the only time I ever remember watching.
Okay,
him.
twice.
So, that's sad. That's sad to say, but I mean, in all honesty, yeah, that's about the only time I've ever watched him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's. I mean, that's one of the cool parts about MLB Network is you do get to see some of your out of market teams. However, I bet you half of the games that I've watched on MLB Network so far have been Yankee games.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so tired of Yankees baseball already. And as you notice, Garrett Cole wasn't on my list, not because I'm a Yankee hater, which I am. I'm just not buying this start yet.
Yeah.
Talk to me this time next month.
Yeah.
We could have a whole different top five.
He's very hard to like, especially
Unless you're a Yankee fan.
Unless you're a Yankee fan, yeah. But when you do watch him, I mean, you have to, especially this year, he's been fucking just lights out. Another young pitcher that I really like is Joe Ryan for the Twins. Mm-hmm. That kid's gonna be a freaking stud too. There's some good pitchers. Then there's other pitchers that were so good just a couple years ago and have fallen off. Shane Bieber.
A lot of these, especially and I'm not calling Shane Bieber an old guy by any means, but
No.
a lot of the established pitching vets are having the most trouble with the pitch clock, as opposed to the young guys, because the young guys have been they've been doing it in the minors for a while. So I honestly do think there are some dudes that we're used to seeing at the top of these lists that will return once that gets a little bit more ingrained into them. And speaking of the Twins 2K, Sonny Gray is third in the league in ERA at .82. I bet you that was a better ERA than he had in Oakland when he was the absolute stud over there.
Yeah.
And it's Kevin Gossman for Toronto, 41 strikeouts, second to only DeGrom. He's also tied with 4 wins, and big shout out to Marcus Stroman.
Mm-hmm.
He's up there with 4 wins as well. And if you guys don't follow Marcus Stroman on Twitter, I highly recommend it. He's a good follow.
Another young pitcher that's already a freaking beast. That's going to just continue to get better is Strider.
Yeah.
Spencer Strider with the Braves is nasty.
That mustache. That whole Braves pitching staff. We haven't even talked about Fried yet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, granted, he went down opening day, I think, and he just came back. But yeah, that Braves team is going to be scary. It already is.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're going to give the Mets all they can handle and more. That's for sure. Well, 2Ks, did we miss anything? Anything else to wrap up?
I don't think so.
Well, 2K crew, it's been a hell of a week, and I hope you guys and gals have a great week. And I think next week, 2Ks, we should probably talk about the NFL draft.
Yeah.
Probably should talk about the NFL
draft. It's going to be
draft.
fresh.
Yeah.
Be fresh and be over.
Yeah.
Be over with.
Yeah. And we'll give our grades, which that everyone just waits all year to get our draft grades for everybody. And yeah, I mean I have a very good feeling I'll be sitting at home Thursday watching it on ESPN and on my phone. Excuse me. Also streaming the Pat McAfee's draft extravaganza to see what kind of twists and turns may come. And I have a very good feeling that the whole Aaron Rodgers saga will be over prior to Thursday. And Cody can go finish all over everything. Have a feeling he'll be like Stan Marsh on South Park, walking out of that room covered in jizz. And yeah, that's probably what we'll run at you next week. 2K crew is the Turbo and 2K's draft extravaganza recap. So everyone have a great week, and hopefully the weather is a little bit better this week. And get outside, mow your yard, get your garden ready, do all that good stuff. And as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.